Johnny Fontana, Real World NF Scorpio, back with another video.
That is what I see is consistent with reality in the sense that people that are extremely successful and balanced and are not really having a super hard time in life as far as, knowing who they are and getting shit done, they have to play all 8 functions. It doesn't matter which functions they're born with. It doesn't matter which 2 savior functions they like best. As they've gotten older and they've gotten good, what defines them as a great person in society is that they can be FE courteous, and they can TE make things work, and they do TI know the reasons for their identity, and they do have an FI value that they're very passionate about. They don't care if you like it or not. So they end up having all the functions, quote unquote, in some way, shape, or form as far as their performance.
This one's going to be an INFJ video. I think it's very important because I've been spending more time on the INFJ. And I've been realizing what's going on because I've been trying to figure things out, right? It's not like others who they need others to tell them, to figure things out. I like to figure things out. Why?
Whereas the SI hero of the ISFJ is like, no, you tell me the path. You tell me what I should do. That's how ISFJs works. They want to be told what to do. Whereas the INFJ does not want to be told what to do. They want to find what they want. They want to find the best path forward. This is how introverted intuition works. They want to find the best or ideal path forward for themselves, right? And that's why they have like this sniper rifle and they're just laser focused on these things, and they can get like this insane focus, introverted intuition can, and focus all their energy onto one thing at a time, and they can really smash it really, really well, and they can outperform others as a result of that.
But I've been working on these theories and trying to figure out why are we missing the paradox. So I'm making a series, right, of like INFJs missing the paradox, meaning that we're told we can do this. We're told we can do this. For example, listen to this.
The INFJ as the sage is more of like, trying to get wisdom and exude wisdom to others, because the number one export of the INFJ is to make people better, right? It's to improve fellow human beings, right? Which makes them fantastic teachers. Jesus was an INFJ, but he's also a teacher. Same thing with Gandhi, etc. So that just gives you an idea of how they're able to go, right?
But then when it's like you have someone who, let's say like me, who has been by default, I'm not tooting my horn, have been exposed to so many of these things, I come back with knowledge, it's like I always get off in, oh, why are you trying to act as if you are so superior, as if you know it all? Well, the reason why, it's because
it's no wonder that both these types actually kind of are like really lonely, and they kind of feel alone, and they wish people would invite them to things. But the reason why people don't is because people are like, well, I don't want to deal with her or him telling me what they think, because I just feel so stupid around them, right? I've also felt alienated by INFJs in my life who've been doing the same thing to me. They're like, you can't behave that way, FI trickster. And it's like, well, I don't know any different. I have FI trickster. So what business do you have judging me, right?
That. But it's funny because I can understand it from other types, but from the INFJ types, it's like, well, you spend your whole entire day reading on special snowflake characteristic traits, right? I mean, I do too. We all do, like basically telling us who we are, how we, should evolve, and what's the best path for us, and so forth and so on, in order to, progress in our everyday endeavors, and how to strengthen our intuition and all this stuff. But yet, when we have fellow INFJs who are able to perform, and it's not only me, I'm just saying us in general, I get to how we are missing the paradox, even within ourselves in general. It's like, whoa, now you're sort of alienating that person within the whole entire community. And that's why I say that the INFJ community is very fragmented, right? Because we don't acknowledge other people's abilities. And I'm now realizing, I think why is because of how we have our main functions. But I'm realizing that some of the functions that are lower in the stack, they come in and out. They get developed, but they're not fully developed. So because we have SE, extroverted sensing, in our 4th slot, even though, for example, me, I can cultivate it, and I've cultivated it because of, by default, because I've been forced to, I can now relate and see certain extroverted sensing, you know, things or relate to them, and I can actually apply them. But I don't always. It's not consistent. Okay, so for example, I'm very forgetful.
If you're one of these types, you're an extroverted sensing user, which means you're likely forgetful. Especially the ENTJ, the ENFJ, the INTJ, and the INFJ. Those are, in my opinion, the most forgetful of all the types because they have lower extroverted sensing capability in their head because it's in their third or fourth slot in their ego, which basically means their introverted sensing is in the second to last slot or the last slot, making them forgetful, basically.
Okay, I lose things. I can walk into the door and I'm like, whoa, where did I put my keys? And I left it inside the actual door. I'm always doing this. I had a piece of an ID card on me and I lost it. Don't know where I put it. I come into the house, I put things out and I'm like, oh, where did I put this? I have things on me and I'm like, hey, where's the phone? We spent 10, 15 minutes looking for my phone, realizing that I had just come out from outside and then I had the phone in my little sack, or whatever you call it again, like the hip sack, while I was running. But the thing was playing, I was listening to it on my headphones, and I was like, where did I put it? I came inside, it was on me. You see what I'm saying to you? So we are, because of the SE in a fourth slot, even though we can condition it, but it's not by default, it's not our mainstay, we have to acknowledge that we can be forgetful, and we also have short-term memory.
Also, it's like short-term memory. A computer has random access memory or a hard drive, right? Introverted sensors are like a hard drive, whereas extroverted sensors are the RAM in a computer. You have memory, right? And they're very, very good at keeping that memory in their head, but new information comes in and pushes the old information out. It's not written to hard disk. Introverted sensing is long-term memory, extroverted sensing is short-term memory. So that means if you have lower long-term memory, that means you're forgetful, basically.
You see what I'm saying to you? So again, it's like, it's the research, because you're finding out, and it's for me, I'm not one of those people who, I don't need people to tell me what to think or to tell me who I am. And that's why I really don't like personal development. Like, that's one of those things I really don't like. And I really don't like when other INFJs are given personal development, because they don't realize that we know this stuff already.
That's a problem, because TI child can alienate people, and they can be like super alienating. And why? Well, it's because they're not aware that other people are already thinking the same things that they're thinking. So when they're telling someone what they think, that person's like, well, I've already thought of that. And it can actually cause them to feel alienated. It could cause them to think that the ISFJ or the INFJ are talking down to them, right?
You see what I'm saying to you? So again, but again, we all do it. What we miss the paradox in that we don't like being told what to do, but then we're telling each other how to live. We're giving people common, basic, analysis of ourselves that we already know. Oh, the difference between this and that. Well, we already know. If you're an INFJ, you're intuitive, you probably did that research already. You've been doing a whole lot of research. Then what does it lead to? It doesn't lead to growth. It leads to, oh, I relate. You're spot on. That's exactly what I was thinking. So where's the growth? And that's where I come in and start discussing the whole missing the paradox. So I'm going to do a couple series. So this one is going to be on SC. I had a interview with Yui. Forget how you pronounce his name. I'll leave his link down below. I appreciate that interview, by the way. And he asked me a question. And he was like, how do you use SC in real life? How can we help? And I gave a response because, again, I was in a certain space. And I was like, oh, well, we're so fragmented. And again, I was just in a space of understanding that we are. But it wasn't that I wanted to stay there. I was just like, we're in this fragmented space, but there's a reason why. And hence, this is where I am today, a week later, figuring out what it is doing the research. What is extroverted sensing? How does it relate to this? How does it relate to everything else? So we miss the paradox in that we say that, we can perform certain activities. We can do this, we can do that, we can help others. But how do you help others? It's through experience. It's through being with other personality types to now finally identify, and then from there you now tap into your other functions that may not be your first functions, but you tap into them. We have 8 functions, so we can go into that, tap into it a little bit, depending on who you deal with. Okay, take a little bit, just rub your fingers around the edge of the plate in order to get what you want to accomplish. So, for example, I use SI.
I would say this though, for INTJs, the thing that does end up saving their life, get this, is SI. It's absolutely SI, and I know that like personally true. I've seen it in my life, other people's life. If you can systematize that plan, if you can take that abstract plan, write it into the sensory, and organize that plan in the sensory, that makes the INTJ's life explode.
Even though SI is in my shadow slots, I can deal with you, understand where you're coming from, remember the what do you call it again? The interaction, and then when I come at you, I'm able to carry on. You know what I'm saying to you? When I can present myself to you in a certain way based on, previous experiences. Okay.
At least I have extroverted feeling to be able to find other FI users and use my FE to absorb their feelings and just straight up ask them how they feel about this. And because I'm an SI user, I can remember that over time, right? We'll talk more about that later. But I can remember their reaction over time and actually plan my interactions based on, how this person would typically feel, how an FI user in this situation would typically feel, right?
So think about this, taking the sport of soccer, right? When you're first learning, just getting the ball to go where you want to is difficult. You have to practice and practice and practice and learn that, and it's very difficult. It feels awkward. When you really have the skill down is when you have the skill down perfectly and you don't have to look at the ball anymore. And now your brain is free to think about tactics, to think about strategy, to think about planning ahead and what do you want to do next. And that's where you're going to get to those moments of genius. It's when the fundamentals have become so ingrained that your brain is freed up to think about the advanced things. And then the advanced things have become so ingrained that your brain is free to think about anything and everything, right? And the game comes to you, the game slows down, everything gets easier from there. But those brilliancies, those moments of greatness, they come from very, very humble beginnings. They come from hours of work and dedication of doing things the right way, ingraining good habits rather than bad, and making it the most natural thing in the world for you. All right, so I really want to point out that is how you learn. You learn on the training field, you learn through repetition that it shouldn't be boring, but it may not be glamorous.
But I don't rely on that like the ISFJ. Like that's their mainstay. For me, I do it because, again, if we are people, we help people, therefore we have to have something, right? And that's why I said we miss the paradox, because if we're people, if we help people, then how are we not supposed to tap into the SI and to figure out how people are? And that's why with the paradox of the SC, we say, we miss the paradox by not realizing that we use SC all the time.
So someone who has extroverted sensing, it's like they're just always aware of what other people are doing. And in that vein, they are able to see into what other people are doing so that they know what they want to do. Why is that? It's because introverted intuition, which is another of the perceiving cognitive functions, is connected to extroverted sensing in an axis. So people see with extroverted sensing what other people are doing right now so that they know what they want to do later. Or they know what they want, and then they want to give other people an experience. And that's what extroverted sensing users do. They give other people an experience.
Here's an example. My wife uses SC for things. I use SC for people. When people say, oh, well, I can feel a certain, thing, it's not that. It's not through osmosis. Whatever people are telling you, it's not. It's not that they're saying it because they're trying to deliberately throw you off. It's just they don't know. They are ignorant to the fact that you don't feel energy. Yes, you can feel a certain energy, but it's basically through your observation. It's through SE.
So they leak anxiety. So what happens is we start getting to where we just expect it and we ignore it. And a lot of times ignoring that anxiety response, those leaking signs of tension and anxiety from some, maybe in fact they're actually planning on hurting us. And too often I see officers in videos, they're down busy writing a citation and they're asking questions, they're missing all these signs of anxiety. And later in the video, you see the fight's on, or the life and death struggle occurs, or the suspect runs away. Because those eyes are critically important. The eyes are the windows of the soul, as we say. And this is the kind of thing we want to pay attention to. Simple things like that. And again, you don't just stare at it, you're mentally prepared, you're thinking about it. This way you have to have your mind in the game all the time. What if you're looking at somebody and they blanch, or they flush? Somebody that goes suddenly just pale, this may be their blood is rushing to their main muscles and they're going to have the fights on. Or they're flushing, now they're intensely emotional. These are all symptoms and signs you have to be prepared for. You have to have your mind right. If you don't look at it, you're not going to attend to it.
Introverted thinking child, guess what? They are not aware of what you think at all because they have TE Trickster. Because they have TI Child, they automatically have TE Trickster. TE Trickster is just completely unaware of what other people say. That's a problem because TI Child can alienate people.
Yes, you can feel a certain energy, but it's basically through your observation. It's through SE. You see someone do something, we observe that because we're into people. If SC Dom person sees something IT or mechanical, they can click that.
For example, people have extroverted sensing hero or parent. They're extremely good at mechanics. That could be using tools or fixing cars or motorcycles, anything to that way of doing. Even a network in an IT data center, that could be all done using extroverted sensing.
Here's an example. Today, and there's so many examples, and that's what pisses me off with my wife. She's an ESTP. So she has SE in her first slot. So when I came today and said, hey, look at the watch, just check it out. She has to pause. She has to look at it. She has to look at all the details. And I'm getting frustrated because I know she's got to have to say something. I said, no. Stop looking at for the details. Just big picture. What does it look just based on that, right? And she says, stop controlling how I look at your watch, right? That's my thing. And I tell her, I get it, but that's not, I'm the one who's coming to you. So therefore, I need for you to react in a way that I want others to react. Because big picture thinking, when I'm walking through the streets, people are not going to be detailing. They're going to see it. So I want you to be able to provide me what I think in the future is going to be and how people are going to react, or how they're going to, because I can already see how people are going to react. So based on that little quick thing. And she says, yeah, it looks nice. It looks nice. Same thing with the car. I have my car. Maybe I'll throw up a picture here. I modified my car. I got some new wheels, some staggered wheels and everything. VIP experience for my car. And I said, okay, check it out. What do you think? And she has to kneel down, look at it. I'm like, baby, no. Stop. Like when I'm driving, people are not going to have time to whatever. I want you to be able to just, provide that as it's movement. She needs to be like very in the moment, detail on that. Whereas, whenever she says, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think it goes? Yeah, it goes. It's good. Well, you didn't even look at it. I already know. It's not because I'm being dismissive. I already see because it's a quick glance. Boom. It's locked in. Bam. You see what I'm saying to you? I'm not a detailed person, so I don't need to sit there and look and nitpick and all that stuff. That's not me, because I'm not good at that. I'm good at just being able to see quick things, lock it in, and then boom. You see what I'm saying to you? Now let's talk about the ESTP, right? They have the SC in the first slot. Extroverted sensing in the main way takes in information at their core function. This means they use their senses to understand the world around them, and they handle solid, real-world information better than vague hypotheticals. This is for the ESTP, okay? Extroverted sensing is all about in the moment, tangible, concrete, real-world experiences and perceptions, and how SETIs can connect their physical surroundings to their shifting analytical inner world. SETs especially feel that every moment would be best spent on something worthwhile and fun. SETs have a strong need to be engaged in physical activity and doing stuff. SE is all about very tangible five senses: sight, touch, taste, smell experiences. So creating art or making things with their hands, i.e. playing an instrument, painting, doing mechanical work, or various types of craftsmanship is very gratifying to them when it's something they like. In creating tangible things, they get to put their knowledge and skills to use by expressing meaning in real world ways that other people can experience and enjoy. So for them, it's like they need to see the details so that they can, okay, that's why they're good with their hands. You have a lot of ESTs that are very good with mechanics. Same thing with when I was a police officer. ESTJs, right? You have a lot of ESTJs that make great officers. Even though I have a great subconscious lens now, it wasn't always the case. Again, we miss the paradox with the SCs because it's like we say, man, like, you know, we are chameleons, right? We can be whoever and mirror the people who we are. That's, you know, if we mirror people with poor habits, or people who are, you know, dare I say losers, or people who just don't have anything going on for them, we end up being that way. Listen.
Get rid of them. Get the losers out of your life, especially you INFJs, because you're going to start mirroring the losers in your life, and then you're going to become a loser yourself. Don't believe me? Watch my Virtue and Vice lecture on INFJs. You'll understand exactly what I mean. TI child exists to verify everything. So if you're verifying everything, do it. If I verify, well, I mean, if I don't verify, that more people get around. I'm sorry, but get the losers out of your life. If those people, guess what, are not willing to hear the truth from you, and they're like too scared of that, and that's too painful for them, and they're no longer in your life, good.
Right? However, if we end up now with people who are constantly pressuring us, we start to now lend our functions and tap into these. It doesn't mean that it's by default, but we use it to how we can apply it to our functions and synergistically gel it with our primary functions, right? So that's why as a DJ, I've learned how to use SI and SE through the police work, because when I first started, I did not like it. Like, I wasn't good. Like ESTPs, ESTJs, they're good. They're very witty. They're on their feet. They can take action. And so when I would have to call the box and say, you know, on the radio, there was something, whatever, even though I was good at it afterwards. But when I first started, I froze. Why? Okay. So I was like, I needed all the information. I need to go on a map, figure out where I'm at, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Box is basically having to figure out where I am. I'm at this location, and I need to go about, it's a quarter of a mile radius, so I have to put this street here, this street here, this street here, and this street here. These ESTJs, because they're good with memory and whatever, they would be able to call out street names and say, okay, I want a cop at this corner, so they can see from this side to this side. I want another police officer here, so that they can see from this side to this side. That police officer will see from this angle and also this angle. They put a police officer here so that they can see this angle, and they put another police officer here, so they contain whatever suspect, so that if they were going to go, we would bring the dogs and we can basically, contain them, within. But they were able to do it with, like, because they were so good with the details, they could do street names, and I was struggling. I was like, I had to go to the map, and like, because I was so bad at it, other people had to jump in. Hey, blah, 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 I'll take this. And I was like, oh man, like that's really bad now, because now someone's taking over. And after that, after whatever happened, the end of the conclusion of that particular thing, we'd all congregate, and then I'd get the third degree, certain people, can't call boxes and this, that, and the third, and, because you have all these guys who are very, A-type, EST types, very sensory, high goal, whatever. And I was the kind of person, I was like, I'm not really into chasing people. I want to speak to the store owners. Like, I love, like, when the store owners opening up the shop and I'm there providing police presence, and yeah, I'm a cop, but I'm here. Like, I'm making you feel safe. Like, you're opening up the store, you feel that I'm there, providing police presence. I go in there, eat my oatmeal, and I'm having a conversation with you, creating harmony, It's nice, right? But the other guys was like, no, let's go out and chase guys. Let's go traffic stops. Let's do this. I'm like, that's not me. Like, I'm not trying to collect, traffic tickets. I'm not trying to make quarters. And that's why I really wasn't a good officer, like I was told. They were like, hey, maybe this isn't for you. Like, my sergeant told me, maybe this isn't for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really messed with me to the point where now it's like, you now have to learn and learn and learn and learn in order, because that's your job. Like, you're getting paid for this. You know what I'm saying to you? If you don't know the benefits and this and the third, and that's all you know. At the time when I came out of the Marine Corps, that's all I knew, having a kid and this and the third. What I'm going to do, like, not perform? You have to find a way to perform in order for you to now not only keep your job, but keep from having to deal with these people who are just constantly messing with you, because you're not sensory, you're not an SI type, you're not very, And then now, so because of all of this, now in my new job now, I now understand, I connect the dots. I'm like, oh, do all you sensory guys, you're very linear thinking, right? Very logical. So let's talk about the ESTJs. When it comes to the TE, okay, T types. And when I say T types, it doesn't mean only TI, it can be TE, okay? TESIs, which is the ESTJs, are constantly aware of their environment until they are honed in on an issue and get into problem-solving mode. They are very efficient problem solvers, naturally seeing the best course of action for the best outcome. That's why they're good on a scene, as a police officer. They can be like, okay, this is the best course of action, let's go, boom. They don't need to spend lots of time refining and reevaluating things, because they know they can shift quickly and do spur-of-the-moment analysis if their plan A somehow fails through. Okay, so while introverted thinking dominant people want to spend lots of time refining and perfecting their solutions, a healthy TI is confident in their moment problem-solving abilities. Okay. They thrive in systems of hierarchy, okay, whether they are leading or taking instruction from those in charge, okay. They work most effectively when they know what boundaries and expectations can operate within. And let's see, they have introverted sensing as well, okay. Okay, due to this high value for their impressions of real-life experiences, ESTJs feel very concrete internally. They are sure of themselves, their views, and their morals. They see the external world as a world of possibilities that can change at any moment, while they are internally very solid. Okay? They're very ritualistic, and they can become quite stubborn. Okay? They don't like fiddling around with ideas. It's like, okay, you got it, boom, let's go. That's why a lot of people now that are who I can tell very EST, TP, ESTJ, very sensory types, very TE, sensory and thinker types, they tend to be, no, let's go ahead and do this, boom, right? Like, forget that, I don't give a crap, yeah, let's get, whatever. And I'm like, whoa, like, do you realize that there's a cause and effect to that, right? If you take this approach, you're not really inviting other people, which is that harmony, right? I already know future-wise, by you taking this approach, this is what's going to happen. But for them, it's like, I don't care, I'm here, boom. And then when thing happens, it's like, I told you so. Now, let's quickly talk about extroverted sensing as our mainstay. It's very vital that we develop our extroverted sensing as it relates to the dynamics and also the people. I have extroverted sensing for physical, but more energies, right? Rather than actual mechanics, hands-on. Okay, I'm a hands-on person because I need to see based on the jobs that I was doing. Okay, police, military. So I sort of conform to that, but that's not my mainstay. My mainstay is when I grew up and I started to come into my own, I realized, oh, I'm into people. So therefore, my extroverted sensing revolves around people. With all of us, I've just been able to now cultivate it. Why? Because I've been exposed to different people. Here, I'm gonna provide an example. One more, I'm gonna repeat myself, but it's very important that I repeat it. Listen.
And invisible threads, quote unquote, are basically made up of all the possible ways that a conversation could branch out from a given starting point. And once you've done enough interactions, thousands and thousands, you'll start to get a pretty good idea of what most of the invisible threads are for a given conversational topic, or a given story, or even a given theme of conversation. And once you know that, it becomes very easy for you to dominate the conversation and control the frame, because you'll basically have a prepared response for any contingency that might arise. Now, with this in mind, I absolutely love it when somebody gives me some smart-ass remark or even an insult that I haven't heard before in the field. Why? Because I know it's a new addition to my data set. And the next time that I hear that particular comment, well, I'm going to have a response teed the fuck up and ready to fire off. Hallelujah, motherfuckers. So, again, if you want to develop a nimble, agile social intelligence that can adapt to any situation that might arise dynamically, there is simply no way around it. You're going to have to get out there, get out in the field, and have as many unique interactions under your belt as humanly possible. Okay?
So, that means that when I walk into a room, you feel energies because you see. You see. It's not that, like you use your senses, like you hear rustles, you hear quiet, you hear this, you hear that. Whereas people who come in, they're not focusing on whatever. Like we're thinking, okay, is this happening here? Is this happening there? What's going on here? Whatever. Like you're not always like, the more mature, you're not focused on if people are worried about you, if they're talking behind you, whatever, because you're confident enough. But you walk in, but you're immediately in tune with the senses. Okay, it's quiet. What's going on? You see someone who's normally, and he's not.
Overt gestures, yawning, stretching, all these things. Everybody always laughs in a seminar when we show it and we say, well, look at this anxiety response. But the point is, how many times do officers miss it? Because people are always yawning, always stretching when you're giving them these citations, when you're getting ready to book them for DUI. That doesn't mean they're going to fight. You don't know if they're going to fight. This is why you have to have your mind in the game all the time.
So guess what? You know what that looks like. You have FE, you're going to ask, how are you doing? Whereas someone who is a sensory type, who's a high fly, whatever, they like to engage in the real world, in the moment stuff, they don't care about that stuff. They'd rather, like if you give them a gun, you talk about the gun, oh, that thing is off right there. You need to do this. No, that thing is, you need to, whatever. Like they'll, all the little details for that. But when it comes to people, that's not them. That's why I say that extroverted sensing is vital to us, because again, it, like CSC Joseph says, it's on the axis, right?
They are able to see into what other people are doing so that they know what they want to do. Why is that? It's because introverted intuition, which is another of the perceiving cognitive functions, is connected to extroverted sensing in an axis. So people see with extroverted sensing what other people are doing right now so that they know what they want to do later.
So therefore, it's a synergistic role in that we intuitively can assume certain things based on our observation. So therefore, because of the intuition, we internalize it, okay? And then from there, we logically figure it out, okay? And then now through our FE, we can say, hey, what's wrong? Versus other people, it's like, I'm not even gonna ask him because forget you, pick yourself up. Like, what are you doing? Like, stop whining. Stop, pretending like you're hurt. You're not hurt. I'll give you an example. We were playing some pickup basketball games, and because we're close with the staff, and we were out playing some and so one guy he fell because he hurt himself or whatever. So I was immediately there helping him, and you had some other person who was as sensory type was like, it's like, what was that all about? Like, what do you know what I'm saying? Like, what was that? Like, why don't you just like, it's like, if I ever did that, my friends would be such and such and such, whatever, like that, right? And again, it's like, it's different. It's because we sense it, we see it, sense. We can sense and see, SE for sense and see the physical pain that person is going through. And through our FE, because we internalize it based on what we can recollect, what we saw before, and also through our SI, we can internalize that sensation. We can be like, hey, are you okay? Through our FE. You see what I'm saying to you? So even if I'm getting the terminology incorrect, the fact is that I'm doing it. The fact is that other people aren't doing it. And the fact is that if you are not experienced and exposed to these things as it pertains to the FE and helping people, then you're just gonna be on yourself. It's always gonna be, you're always gonna be worried about how am I gonna look if I go help that person, because they're gonna say, why are you helping that person for? No, it's like, forget what that person feels. It's like, I'm helping that person because that person needs help. It doesn't matter what they think. You see what I'm saying to you? That's part of that whole performance anxiety as well. So again, you see something through SE, through that external sensing, SE sensing, see it, you now internalize it, you can recall it, and if it's an interaction that you've had before, because we built up that SI, because that also now works with the intuition, right? We store it, because again, we have to deal with these people, we now throw it back. You see what I'm saying to you? And I'll give you one last example.
But the way that you can actually achieve a better mindset, better outlook, better view on life is actually through experience. Because the things that we learn and believe, we learn through experience, right? If I had something in my hand and I were to drop it, you know that it's going to fall to the ground. You don't know that because of like good self-belief, or you don't know that because of a positive attitude. You know that because you've seen things fall to the ground over and over and over again since you were a small baby. Right? And you've seen it over and over again, and it's been incredibly predictable, incredibly reliable, such that you know that it's not your opinion on the world, it's not your viewpoint on the world, it is the truth of the world as per your experience. Right? And so the best inner game actually comes through experience, and the best inner game training actually comes through taking action and getting references. Right? Also, the best inner game training, even for overcoming fears and stuff like that, comes from actually taking action and going through the motions of overcoming the fear, going through the motions of acting unafraid, etc.
So yesterday, I was at work, and I'm about to leave. You're going to Florida, and so I'm leaving. At my chief division, we were actually conducting an inspection for the different whatever. I'll get into that later. But so I was accompanying him, right? And we were discussing certain things, and he opened up to me. And you can tell he was like, well, I'm going to tell you this because, you're leaving. And I said, well, I'm not trying to get involved in it, whatever. He was like, no. He's like, because I trust you. I trust your judgment. And he's just like basically getting to the whole like people thing, like I want to know about this, like what people are thinking, that, because he knows that I'm good at reading people. I'm good at this. And so we had the discussion, and so someone who's going to be replacing me, and someone I was able to tell him, hey, you need to watch out for this, you need to watch out for that, that person gets frazzled, this, that, third, whatever. Like I really got deep and said, okay, well, when this happens here, boom, boom, this person does this. And that's why when he called in, he says, oh, he's going to be on leave. And he wasn't even he was supposed to be actually training this week, but he didn't because he's involved in that. And now he's on leave next week. So you're going to have to deal with that. But he's also a fast talker. So you're going to have, so I got really, onto really explaining what's going on with him. But most people won't be able to do that because they're not involved in that. That's not their thing. But again, how do I know that? It's based on my, not only dealing with him, but my interaction with so many different people based on my different careers, living in different countries, and so on and so on. So I have this ability that I can say it. And he was like, oh, okay. But here's one thing that I'm going to kick you with. There was an incident where, actually, no, it's not an incident, but we were continuing our conversation, and we were discussing, he brought up some other name and this, that, and the third, and I said, okay, but this person, because he had mentioned how, they don't talk, they don't discuss things or whatever anymore, and he was discussing how before he got promoted, they were basically on the same level, and then so he got promoted, but he came from another division. And when he came, he was doing the inspection of, certain things because obviously he was higher up. And the person, the other person who he was referring to came from another division as well, but came back into this division which he worked for before. So he basically went to another one and he came back. So while he was doing, inspection and going through, because he knows this particular his particular area, I guess there was some kind of headbutting or what have you. I guess maybe because he got promoted and so on. But I went out to explain to him. I said, well, here's the thing. This person is this, that. He actually, he shaved his head. The reason why is because, he had a best friend who was with him, and that person actually transferred to another division, to another state. So he ended up shaving his head, in order to commemorate his best friend. And so the chief of division was like, serious? He started laughing, dropping his head, like, are you kidding me? And I was like, yeah. I said, but that's the reason. I said, he's that kind of a person. It's like, even though everyone is afraid of him, he walks into an office, everyone is so afraid of this person that we're referring to. And he's got a very tough, he's very by the book. He'll come to you and says, hey, you need to do that, very details, blah, 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 blah. He'll call you on the phone, hey, you missed this, because he can see things, and on the different programs, he can see that certain sections forgot this and that. He's basically like a program manager, so he can basically see what's necessary, what's needed, what's not, what's missing, and he'll come in, he'll do the audits, and he'll be like, hey, you missed that. He'll call people, and people that just like every time he walks in, it was like, oh man, this guy is just so, it's like he's the kind of person when he goes on leave, he's on leave. That's the kind of personality he is. Like when someone goes on leave, you should really know that they're on leave. But when he goes on leave, because it's like, he's gone. So I said, but guess what? I told him, the reason why he goes on leave often is because he crashes hard. And a lot of this was I'm not gonna lie to you, honest truth. A lot of this was assumptions. I'm thinking, I'm like, I have no idea that it's true, but it's just me, just like my hunch, my 49%. People who are like that, the reason why is because they crash hard. But again, I know that a lot of the times my 49%, my intuition is correct. So he was like, he didn't understand. He was like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would he wasn't connecting the dots? Why would he shave his head because his friends, or because he felt alone? He felt that was his best friend who he can connect with. But then if you connect the dots, that means who's someone he puts on a facade, right? That's who he is up front, but in real, he's internally, he's got deep issues, right? And he falls hard. That's why he goes away on leave, because he's comes up so hard, but then he gets drained so quickly. That's why a lot of the EST types, they're all like that. They drain, they crash hard. I've always said that in my previous videos. But he didn't understand that. The chief of division didn't understand that. And he's the same person who claims to be deep, stay behind the scenes, and I like to figure people out. And he's not connecting the dots. And that's why I know, okay, you want to talk you're deep, you haven't talked to Johnny Fontana. You want to talk to special snowflakes who think they're special snowflakes, I will tell a special snowflake, you're not special.
And it's like you try to teach type to an INFJ, and they're like, I don't need that. I already know people. In fact, I know people better than I know you. And it's like, yeah. If that was the case, you wouldn't be alienating all of your friends and complaining that you were alone all the time. Yeah. Anyway.
Because you cannot do the things that I have because you don't have the experience. And I pride myself on having that experience, and that's what we're supposed to do. You want to help people? Guess what? You need experience. And if you don't have the experience, then guess what? You're here. And I can toot my horn in saying that because you're not me.
The INFJ's purpose in life, for those INFJs watching, your purpose in life is to make people better. Your number one export is to improve others. That's it. Improve other people. That is how useful you are.
So I said to him, yeah, I said, that's why he crashes hard. All of a sudden he was like, oh, and I'm like, and he paused. He was trying to recall something. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, did you forget something? Did you forget that you had a meeting? Because obviously he's the chief of division. He was like, that's why when we had the discussion, he says, oh, we're talking to the other person, telling the chief of division. Remember, he doesn't understand why I'm saying that he crashes hard. He doesn't understand why I told him that he cut his hair because his best friend left. He doesn't understand any of that. Then all of a sudden, it just dawned on him. Oh, now he connected the dots. Because then now, again, while he's doing that, at the same time, I'm holding another concept in my mind. I'm like, yeah, you're not deep. Yeah, I'm like, you're not deep because you would have gotten it if you were that deep. If you understood people, you would have gotten that. It wouldn't have taken you this long during the conversation for you to put two and two together. So he says, that's why. Because remember in the beginning, I told you that he was used to basically doing the job that the person does. And so therefore, because he had gone to another division, came back, this person was still here, just got promoted. So when he was auditing this person, he realized that, like you haven't been in this division for a while. You're making a lot of mistakes, despite your overbearing personality, and everyone now thinks you're just like Spotty because you're always throwing out policies and regulations. But this person, I got you because I've been in it longer, and I can say that no, and that's why I'm promoted and you're not. And that's why he says, that's why we don't talk anymore. He avoids me. That's why he said to me, oh, you're always picking on me. You always singling me out, and you do that again. And for me, it was like, oh, wow. Like, well, first of all, Chief Division is telling me that, about his interactions with another employee. But again, that's the gift that we have, okay? Because we can pull it out of people. And then he said, now I get it. And again, in my mind, at the same time, while I'm saying, see, at the same time, I'm saying, oh, wow, like, I didn't realize he went that deep, right? But at the same time, because remember, we're holding different concepts in our mind, I'm like, dude, you ain't that dude. I'm the dude because I'm able to make you see it. You know what I'm saying to you? Every time we have these conversations, you talk about how you're deep, you're this, you're that. you're not. I am. And then that's why I went on to. So after now, here's the manipulation. Here's now the manipulation, okay? Not manipulated in terms of whatever, but you manipulate, okay, holding two concepts for the greater good, okay? So I says, but yeah, this is the reason why you are. He responded, because you are an old soul. You are very mature, even though you're 31, but you present yourself as like a 40-year-old, right? You're very quiet, but you're very, when you walk in, it's like people absorb your presence, and there's this level of fear. And I said, you're direct in your approach. You don't give that room for, you're very here. And I said, that's why some people are afraid to approach you, and this, that. They was like, yeah, this is the reason why. I said, but at the same time, I said, you have a special gift. You have, I was pumping, blowing him up. And after we left, he was like, oh man, I appreciate you. I feel like you're pepping me up. I feel good, Again, you're not brown nosing, but at the same time, you're acknowledging, but at the same time, I'm leaving. I want to make sure that when I leave, I'm on good terms, but at the same time, I'm also showing him that, oh, yeah, I know about you too. And I'm telling you that you are a certain way, and you have this uninviting aura to you. And that's why people don't like approaching you. And that's the reason why you laughed when that person he literally said to me that as that other person was saying, oh, you're picking on me, you're this. You didn't identify and understand why that person was feeling the same way, and you giggled at that person. And that's why people don't approach you. You connect the dots. But again, that's what we do, because we can see these things through SE. Johnny Fontana, Real World NF Scorpio, we out.